I'm Owen Davis. I worked in local government for 27 years for all my sins. I pretend I'm a highways engineer, but most of my career has been spent with drainage and flood risk, and I promised myself at uni in my first hydraulics lecture that I will never ever do this for a living. Um, so, yeah, I know. So what we're going to do is I kind of just do things because I can, not because I can't. So I'm going to take you through some stuff, and we're going to go on a whistle-stop tour of Europe. So what are the problems we're facing? So obviously flood risk, surface groundwater, fluvial, our urban heat island, and it is just basically a storage heater. At this time of year, it just absorbs the heat, and then it's not escaping overnight, and it's just getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And again, this is something which I'll go on to later with Leon, which is something they've understood. Water quality, we're all aware of water quality, how our rivers and seas are being polluted. And a lot of that is down to us, driving our cars, hydrocarbons, brake dusts, plastics. We all like a good bit of plastic, nitrates and phosphates. We all want our food, but we all need it to be fertilised. Water resource, and we're in a bust situation at the moment. You know, there's hosepipe bans coming in, there's drought plans being talked about, but before Christmas we had floods. So we are in a boom and bust. We are a semi-arid region. We have less rainfall than Israel. So we've got to look after our water. Public health, as Matt was saying, health and well-being is very important, and green infrastructure just helps no end with that. And nature, as John, Dusty and others do, you know, try and introduce biodiversity rather than these homogenised environments we have. So the park over roads, Gloucester Park? Again, it's just mainly mown grass within an inch of its life. So we got to kind of get out of this. These are some of my favourite photos. The top left is actually my scheme, which I developed at Islington and Pefferton Road, and it was about accessibility. So in the white townhouse, there's a lady lived in a wheelchair, but she couldn't get to a shops, which is where I'm taking a photo from. So we widened the island, blah, blah, blah. We put some trees in, and I put the edges up because at that time I was looking at accessibility. So if you're blind using a tapping stick, you know not to fall into a tree pit. I would not do that now. The bottom left, this is the tandem centre at Collier's Wood. This is a car parking area with a plane tree stuck in the middle, raised. There's two gullies there, so the tree doesn't get any water. I actually had a look at a street view, and the tree's still there surviving, but it is about 2/3 the size of all the other trees in that area. And if you look very carefully at the centre beat where the trunk is coming out, you'll see lots of headlight glass where cars have reversed into it. The top right is Chichester Station outside Wiley's. Again, a dead space, but let's put a tree in, but let's make sure it gets no water. The fact they've used a small-leaf tree is good because that dissipates the energy from the downpour, but it's not getting any water, it's just running off. And then the bottom right is, this regularly, the Daily Mail regularly bring this up as a mad loony left council wasting money on putting a sign in for a little bit of grass. That's the narrative which is given by the media and the press. I know this street, I know it very well. I was born and brought up 2 roads away, and I remember in early 1980s, a petition went down our street to save our grass virgins because Merton Council were going to come along and rip them all out. And they did rip out grass verges in a road called Greenway, which still doesn't have any grass verges, but we managed to save ours in Westley, and this is just over the road, the other side of Brown Drive. And it used to have grass verges all the way through. The actual problem is the car parked on the front garden. So if it wasn't for the car parked, we'd still have that grass verge. So that's the real story, but why should we focus on that? Should we be surprised? So in Lambeth, Herne Hill, floods regularly, and there's been flooding ever since around about 1890 when they culverted the River Effra. Last time it flooded was a burst water main, but before that it was about 2007. I was doing some research. I went down the records office and I found this wonderful document. And in there was some letters. And this is a quote from one of the letters saying that it's an ongoing problem. This letter was from Mr. Fitzmaurice of the London County Council. Now, Mr. Fitzmaurice is an exceptional civil engineer. He did the Aswan Dam. He did about 5 bridges across the Thames. He did the Woolwich Foot tunnels. He did the Blackwall Tunnel. But he wrote to the borough engineer going, your problem, not mine. So we've known about this problem way over 100 years, and yet nothing's been done. So opportunities to retrofit, there are many. And in the public realm, this is possibly London figures, but the public highway accounts for about 15% of land use. Parks and open spaces, again, is about 15%. So you've got 30% of land use which you can influence within the public realm. In the lighter grey, back gardens, again, in London is about 28%. So if you can influence residents, you have that thing. And what I didn't realise was that back gardens nationally accounts for 5% of land use, which is a phenomenal amount of land. Things to consider for retrofitting, so understanding your environment, understanding the historical environment, what was it used for, lands, all sorts of different things. The geology and topography are obviously very important. And one of my things I do is, or one of the phrases I hate, and you get it in highways engineering on a daily basis, is that this is the way we've always done it. Just because it's done in the past, and it happens, and there's every design you get at the moment just has terram in it, and it's like, well, why? You're just putting it in because it's a buzz thing to do. So challenge design, challenge the principles, which is something I do. And your materials, your choice and type of materials, don't just go because that's what everyone uses. There is such a variety of materials which make such a difference, and I'll kind of touch on those as I go through. And then obviously the maintenance, grey versus green. Grey's easier, green's more difficult. It's not. And John will go through the stuff he's done. These are just the designs I should work to, DMRB, blah, blah, blah. These are really useful and helpful documents. The Tree Design Action Group do some really good guidance, and I do recommend it. The UK SUDS tool is really good for helping figure things out. Interpave, the Punwell paving guidance, again, is very good. And SUDS in London, it's excellent. I'd say that because I helped with it. Right, I'm going to run through examples now. I'll run through very, very quickly. So Lambeth and Greenwich, as you can see, populations increasing significantly. Dwellings, nearly 40,000 new units. That's exceptional development and brownfield development. Water demand is phenomenal. London is something stupid like 340 million litres a day short of water need. Sewage, combined sewers, the southern outfall at Woolwich, which collects all for London, is at 80% capacity at Woolwich. And yet you're looking at about 10,000 units for Woolwich and Thamesmead, which will have to connect into that. So it's about managing those. So this is Central Hill. This is the first proper thing we did. So this is a main route between Crystal Palace and Streatham. It's a bus route. It's gritted because you can't put suds on roads which are gritted because the salt will just kill them. There was no grass verge there. It all sloped to the road, as it does, because you've got to have a crossfall to the road. But next to it is a park, and it's a park within the public realm. So what we did is we changed the crossfall of the path to drain to the park. Why not? What we didn't recognise is there's 2 schools, and that the verge was being parked on twice a day. And it was only because there was only a couple of broken slabs. That's why we didn't pick up on it. So this was put in, this has been in now 13 years, 14 years. And it's been parked on twice a day, and there is no deformation in that grass verge. It's kept its shape. It's not got mudding, whatever, and that's because we feel that it's draining, because we've got an open sub-base that the water just drains through. Fourth arch, top left is this dead-end road. No one parked there. It smelt as a toilet because it was used as a toilet. I caught a utility company, had a storage yard there for 6 months and no one checked and they got away with it. So we ripped out the parking bays, ripped out the footpaths, and we just planted it. Simple, effective, quick. Costs came out of my flat budget, which was about 20 grand. So yeah, and the local community now use it as an orchard and food, and they grow food and what have you in there. And it doesn't smell of wee anymore, quite nicely. Ingleborough, again, the forest of bollards, as we called it, the top right. The reason those bollards were put in is because there's a large Portuguese community in that area, and they were going to play football in the park, but parked their cars on the road, boots open, music blaring, and the residents, quite rightly, got a bit upset. So the bollards were put in to stop that parking. So yeah, just got rid of the bollards and just created a rain garden. And the highway runoff goes into it. It was supposed to be incorporated into the park. It hasn't been, but it's just wildflower planted now. Small interventions. London Wildlife Trust came to us, said, oh, we got a government minister visiting us in a month's time. Have you got anything? Do you think you could do anything? Why not? So yeah, we picked these garages. It's in the Herne Hill area. It floods, we know that. The garages are owned by Lambeth. The garage team loves green roofs because it gives another 50 years to their green roofs. It protects it and what have you. So we got it surveyed, and there's a local guy, Charles Sneed, who works at TfL, but he does green roofs along with his brother. And he put a intensive green roof up there. Taxi driver living behind said, "Ooh, that's a load of rubbish." And then Charles went back to check it about a year later, and apparently the taxi driver loves it because he loves looking out his window at it now. We put the grass block in because I just thought, why not? And a bit of a grass verge. And the government minister was very impressed. He even jumped up onto the roof. So, Wilton Road, again, this is Abbey Woods. Typical street with shops. And we just put the trees in. And again, they take water. It's got a stone base. Very simple. It was actually paid for by our contractor. So in the contract, we have to give them X amount of work, value of work. If we go over that value of work, they give us some money back. And that money back pays for that. White Hart Road, this is a regen round Plumstead area. That bridge at the bottom there always floods. The footpath has been raised and it still floods. I've seen it, so where the road sweeper is, I've seen the water up to that level all the way through. So we looked at putting rain gardens in, and this was delivered after I'd left Greenwich, but it's made a difference. Overmead, little islands in New Eltham, and again, just converted it, just put some pipes in, some housing extension pipes to get water into the garden because the councillor didn't want the curbs dropped. Repository Road, new cycle lane, ex-Ministry of Defence. No one knows what the drainage does. Road regularly flooded next to the barracks. So we put a cycle lane in, but that little grass verge you see next to the cycle lane is basically a French drain. And it runs all the way along. We did infiltration tests, and not all of London is clay. Some of it you can actually infiltrate. There's been no flooding on the road. Actually, had someone from Greenwich contact me about a month ago and said that it's still working brilliantly. And that's been in nearly 10 years. Blackwall Lane, up on the Greenwich Peninsula. So school, community garden, Blackwall Lane's a bit there. And of course, when the Blackwall tunnel's not working, traffic backs up. So we got some money off GLA and we put in 8 new trees, wildlife planting, but there's 2 gullies where the first gully on the curb inlet, or weir curb, actually goes into a perforated pipe through the garden so that it gets watered. And Again, that's looking good. And the community garden maintain it. Crownwoods Way, simple dead end, typical across London and many places, urban environments, where a dual carriageway has just been piled through. So just changed it to a hammerhead and put a rain garden in with trees, and we worked with Trees for Cities on that. Pocket parks, so this is again some work we did. This is Pelton Street in just at the top end of Greenwich Peninsula, or bottom end? Top end? I'm looking at dust there, top end. So again, was just a cul-de-sac, and it was unloved, and it was there. So we put all that in, and it actually works. Who would have thought? And the kids love the upstands of the curbs because they use it as stepping stones. Woolwich Roads, etc. Again, same thing. The mundane changed to something nice, and Hoskins Street as well. Creek Road, this is Greenwich Gateway, gone through a horrible bit of monoculture grass too, and nicely planted trees, bit of biodiversity planting in there, and a few rain gardens just to mix it up a bit. Havant Borough Council, so we are a second-tier council on the south coast, near Portsmouth, if anyone doesn't know. Hayling Island probably is, you'll probably all know that, and Hayling Islanders believe that everyone should know Hayling Island. All right, I've really got a rush now. We're not a highway authority, we're not a lead local flood authority, so basically why are we bothering? Because I can. Greywell Shopping Centre, the dark patch on the right of the picture is constant flooding. I've sorted that, I've put in some permeable drainage, and now that doesn't happen. But the middle section between the trees and the toilets there is going to have trees to give shade in the car park to cool it down, and it's using the Stockholm principle of soils and volume and drainage as well. So it'll take more drainage. Lee Park, high area of deprivation, lots of issues of worklessness, etc., etc. And this is what I want to do. So the green areas are rain gardens, the red areas are green roofs, there's de-paving, there's all sorts. This is coastal, so it's made of Gosport. This is the only car park Gosport have now which doesn't flood, and they really like it. Sorry, the other one was North Courtsea. So the car park you can see in the photos, the Elday through. The moat is part of the Hillsea lines, but doesn't actually get any water supply. So we're changing the design of the car park so that all the water drains into the moat. Leon, right, I've really got a rush now, sorry. So Leon, I went there in 2015. I met Frederick, who's the guy who does all this wonderful stuff, and Bjorn from Stockholm came over as well. Yeah, it was just a mess. Trees were a mess, single species, London plains. The asset was on its way out. He hasn't planted a plains for 15 years, probably 20 years now, if not longer. He now has 280 species, so he's got resilience within his stock. He has more trees, but less cost, because he's planting the right trees in the right place with the right maintenance. And it's just wonderful. And I'll show you some examples, but one example is Garibaldi Street, which used to be dual carriageway with an underpass. That's all gone, and it's now rain gardens, and it's all very pretty. The underpass is kept, but it's a storage tank. And they keep water in there, and when it gets too hot in the summer, they overwater the trees. So the trees think it's cooler, so the trees keep working and evapotranspire to keep the city cool. This is just some work. This is where my love for pumice has come in. Pumice is such a great material. It's got so many holes and pores, it holds so much water, and it cleans water. And this was just Leon opening up a brownfield site, so they're putting the infrastructure in. This is my favourite highway in the world. This is 2 kilometres of dual carriageway, which is all drained by suds. It can be done. This is an industrial estate, a light industrial estate. You wouldn't think so, but it is. This is an area where you park, you kind of drive into park to go. And again, it's just all the different materials and choices. Bordeaux, City to Van, there's a 225 pipe with a rain chain, who would have thought, concrete with holes in, it all drains to the swale. the quayside drains, the city centre, it all drains to lovely bits. Toulouse, this wonderful central road and what have you. Brilliant. Now these, I thought this might happen. So called, the one on the left, if you kind of turn your head, is Cordova, and that's in the cathedral, which was a cathedral, then a mosque, and then now back to a cathedral. It's one of the most wonderful buildings, but it's very much an Islamic approach to gardening and water management. Again, with Seville, and then just Porto. Amsterdam, I found this wonderful restaurant on the outskirts of Amsterdam, but every street going along was being dug up and suds were being put in. It's not difficult. Groningen, again, green infrastructure, not a problem. Utrecht, three of those photos was on my wall to the hotel I was staying in. It's just the whole street's being done. Simple, quick. Den Haag, again, green infrastructure. The bottom two photos, when I was there running the half marathon. They were digging that street up, and the photo next to it on the bottom right is what it looks like now on Google. And that photo from Google was taken, or it says, I think about September 24, so literally 6 months. Lyon, Bordeaux and Stratford. Are they 3 words you'd ever think you'd hear? What this is about providing shade for people to escape the heat. So Bordeaux is the top left. Again, very simple, just nice 2 rows of trees. The bottom left is Lyon in the Weavers area. And the seats are the silk cocoons, which is relevant to the history of Lyon. But you'll notice the multi-stem trees provide shade around those areas to sit. And Stratford, that's outside the copper box. I went up there, took my daughter to see the netball finals, and people were sitting there. So it's been designed. This is just something which always gets me when I go around Europe, is that there's green things growing out of the pavement, and it's almost actively encouraged. And it's kind of like, why don't we do that? I know the answer, that I'm not going to go there. But on the left, we have Petworth. In the middle, we have Havant. And on the right, we have Islington. So we can do it. Daylighting on Avery Hill, there's parks, you can do it. You can put nice stuff in and not take away sports pitches. Natural flood management, I've got to run through now. Northney, this is a project we're doing on Hayling Island to increase biodiversity on land we own. D-Pave, this is where community comes in. This is where you take hard paved gardens and show that you can park on them. It's an alleyway we did. Again, just a large bit of land, Plumstead Road, 200 square metres. Public engagement I was going to talk about. This is something we did with Sustrands, 5 different events, and we got 100% up to, or anything. And then this I just wanted to talk about, education upskilling. If you want the communities to come along with you on these journeys, if you want them to help you, you've got to empower them. You've got to support them. You've got to enable them. It's all well and good going, there you go, there's a couple of grand, off you go. You need to help them. You need to help them through the process, and it's not a quick process. This is something I've put together for Lee Park. What different workshops can we do? D-Pave, Grey Roos, and who we can target at. And that is something we're trying to push forward with. And I've also done something similar for people leaving school, and we put them through the education system professionally. In Lee Park, as I said, it's the most deprived area. We have a resource. Most of the gangs who do the roadworks in Hampshire live in Lee Park. We have a resource. We just need to upskill them. And we need to target them. And they can deliver that stuff within their own environment. Bring the Roof Workshop, John, Dusty, Blanche. Right, something different, the mundane. We all see this. Bristol, lovely thing about playing marbles and a thing. Leon, those 2 kids were there for a good 3 hours playing marbles. It's incidental play. Wayfinding, Toulouse, Groningen, Leeward. These are all about wayfinding in the city. If you're sad like me, you look down and you see these things. But the one on the bottom right is Groningen, and that's the big tower in the centre of the Groat Market. But all the manhole covers, wherever you are, will be pointing. So they're not always pointing straight. They might point slightly over. so you can follow them. It's a form of waymarking. Downpipes, the wonderful mad as a box of frogs, Wendy Allen. It's just look at her website. It's just amazing what she does. The one on the right is King's Lynn. I don't agree with trees in planters, but what they've done is actually use that downpipe to water that. So can't be all bad. Infrastructure, signposts can be interesting. Bus stops, succulents, downpipe, gutters, again, succulents, lamp columns. That's in Toulouse, and someone's just gone round planting succulents around lamp columns, just randomly. Temporary fencing. Even work sites can look nice. That is Utrecht and Groningen, Amsterdam, I think, or Den Haag. The strange, the curious, a standing dead tree for bats. The bottom right, a tree guard, is actually outside a bar, and it's so you can stand there and put your pint on it. It's about having fun. These are all different things. The cat hanging, that's a whole series down a whole street of different animals and birds. You know, letters on the roads, disco bollards. Every street should have a disco bollard. Welly boots at the end of things. And everything you do should have love. So the benefits, as we know, water quality, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, sorry, not blah, blah, blah. Urban cooling, etc. But the one point I want to make is there is absolutely nothing in legislation which says we can't do this. It is a choice, and that's it. And there you go, nice pint. Sorry.